saw it on TV last week. It was pretty alarming, and this is from the USA Today and also from the CDC that I'll be reading. It said an infectious disease nightmare is unfolding. Bacteria that have been made resistant to nearly all antibiotics by an alarming new gene have sickened people in 3 states and are popping up all over the world, health officials reported Monday. And it said a very adaptable gene that hitches onto many types of common germs and confers broad drug resistance, creating a dangerous superbug. And this was really alarming. It said the USA Today article reported that bacteria that are able to survive every modern antibiotic are cropping up in many U.S. hospitals and are spreading outside the U.S., public health officials say. The bugs reported by hospitals in more than 20 states typically strike the critically ill and are fatal in 30% to 60% of the cases. And Dr. Rouse, I know our immune system, a strong one, does a lot. So tonight, what can we do about these new super bugs that have hit 3 states so far? I know talked about 20 of the others, but there's a major super bug that has hit 3 states from India. They're saying that's where it came from. What can we do?
You're right, Jack. New York and New Jersey have really been slaughtered with the bug, and as of tonight, it's now in 36 states. And looking at all the participants on our call line tonight, it's actually in every single one of their states. It is a bacteria, and unfortunately, it has a switch that turns bad genes on, and these little genetic qualities of the bacteria help the bacteria to produce enzymes. An enzyme, it's like spitting. That little bacteria now knows how to spit, and that spit immobilizes the antibiotics. So, gracious, where are we heading? These little enzyme things are bad. And the worst thing about it is, we thought we had an antibiotic that could nip it in the bud, and lo and behold, this particular bacteria has actually gone beyond our prescription drug of last resort. It is now beyond the carbapenem antibiotics. Forget the name, just know that it's out there. Prior to that, we were all beginning to hear more and more about MRSA, that nasty staph aureus, the one that is so resistant to the antibiotic called methicillin. And anytime you got a methicillin-resistant staph aureus, that's called MRSA, M-R-S-A, that causes deep wounds and miserable conditions on the inside of the body. But good news tonight, and we'll get into the evading issues of how we can outsmart the smart bug. Unfortunately, right now, the super bug is very smart, and the truth is that it just in the last several years, we're seeing a bunch of different bacteria that are resistant to all kinds of antibiotic therapies. When I used to work in hospital clinical care, vancomycin was one antibiotic that it had the most clout. And I mean to tell you, if there was a bacteria out there, you could knock it out. But now the bacteria is clobbering the vancomycin. And these little bacteria come with all kinds of names, from Enterococcus, Mycobacterium, the Pseudomonas, the Klebsiella, the nasty little staph infections. And the thing is that even things that we thought we had eradicated, like tuberculosis, they're coming back, and they're coming back with a vengeance. So the key here is what's going to happen. And the truth is, who is at fault? It's the overuse of antibiotics. That's it. The main reason for these bacteria becoming so resistant, I mean, just last year alone, 50 million pounds of antibiotics. Now think about it. Each capsule or each teaspoon, about 250 to 500 milligrams, and yet we dispensed 50 50 million pounds of antibiotics. And people for years, they have gone to the doctors. You know, they'll get the sniffle, the sore throat, the stuffy ears, and they'll say, "Doctor, you got to give me an antibiotic." And doctors gave in. And the problem was not bacterial, it was viral, and antibiotics have no effect on viral infections. So all we were doing was feeding the genetic codes of all these other bacteria to grow stronger. And the truth is that antibiotics should be viewed as very serious medications and only prescribed as a last resort. One thing that I mentioned on the slide there is that ear infections, otitis media, the main thing that gets in kids and grown-ups' middle ear, the ear infection is one example of where antibiotic therapy rarely works to eliminate the problem. But you know, by the way, this is a good point, a stopping point right here. Otitis media, inner ear, middle ear infection, is generally caused by a strep infection called streptococcal aureus. Streptococcal. And this little streptococcal infection is nipped in the bud, eradicated, totally eliminated with no antibiotic resistance by a sugar molecule called xylitol. So you know what? All these little bursts, these watermelon fresh burst xylitol mints that we put in our mouth, we are not only getting rid of halitosis, bad breath, we are not only preventing dental caries and gum issues, the gingiva issues, but we are literally physically actually killing the streptococcal mucin, strep mucin bacteria that is responsible for inner ear without antibiotic therapy. So we know that the misuse of antibiotics has really been an issue. And back when we were dispensing massive doses of antibiotics, you know, most of them are 7 days, 10 days of therapy. Most people would say, well, you know what, I'm getting better 3 days into it, and lo and behold, they would put the rest of their erythromycin and amoxicillin and all their drugs back up in the cabinet, medicine cabinet, save it for another time. And all that was doing was giving the genetic codes of the bacteria a head start. So we got to worry about this thing. And look, flushing your antibiotics into the municipal water system is not a good idea either, because these antibiotics don't go away. They stay in the water system. We got a water system in most city municipal water towers that have enough birth control hormones in them and enough antibiotics in there to cause some real major problems. And look, all the creams and the ointments and the soaps, I mean, you go out there and look at the shelf. Those things are loaded with antibacterial agents. What are we doing when we wash our hands and slather on the neosporins and the misotracins for this and that? We are teaching the bacteria to alter their genetic makeup. So the world is in a quagmire. What happens when the superbug hits? What are the symptomatics? Chronic fatigue syndrome. It's an immune system disease, and these people are beginning to wake up with severe swollen glands under the neck. They have chills and low-grade fever. They get very weak, very tired, severe lack of energy. And if that thing messes with the vestibular portion of the inner ear, it will cause problems with balance. People with vertigo and dizzy spells are usually battling a bacterial problem, an immune system over-response to things that the body just can't clean out. And then there are other immune system abnormalities that come along because of the immune system being dysfunctional. Arthritis, sclerosis, lupus, all of those things. And truly, when you get down to this chronic fatigue syndrome, this rheumatoid arthritis, this multiple sclerosis, this lupus, this Sjogren's syndrome, all these different things that are popping up, probable culprit is the beginning. Somewhere in the background was a viral infection. And you know that old Epstein-Barr virus, the EBV, or the cytomegalovirus, or the herpes simplex, or the herpes type 6, or the parasite, or the yeast, or the candida, the fungal infections, the fungi out the kazoo. These things are bringing very strong enemies to the human body. And viruses, just from a cold, just from a flu, can just alter the normal immune system so much that the misery is just out there. It's just what's going to happen. So on the next slide, we talk about immune problems. And when the body begins to downregulate, when the body begins to shrink, begins to slow down the antibody levels of the human body, that affects your T cells, your B cells, your natural killer cells. The immune system then gets compromised. And these superbugs can hurt you, kill you, make you miserable. And then when the good cytokines, the release of the good stuff like gamma interferon and interleukin-2 are down, the bad guys, the interleukin 6 and 8 and 12, begin to dominate. And these advantages of the bad guys winning out over the good guys is beginning to flourish. And in every case of cancer, every single case of any type of cancer, it's always that the cancer cell has been freed up to proliferate in the absence of the body's natural killer cells. When the natural killer cells go down, because good gamma interferon or interleukin-2 or T cell or B cells are not active, then the natural killer cells drop, and the body is very prone to some other abnormalities. But here comes the good news. What can we do? We've got to adapt to the immune system diet, and that means that we've got to be very cognitively aware, especially going into the fall and winter season, of white blood cells. White blood cells only have an active life of 12 hours, and 100 small grams, 100 grams of refined white sugar of any sort in any food product, 100 grams at any one sitting, will literally paralyze the white blood cells' immune system function for is up to 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 hours. So anytime you got a paralytic white blood cell function, then you don't have any defense. So we've got to watch the diet. Cut out excessive amounts of sugar, because those eradicate the fighting ability of the white blood cell. You've got to have sufficient rest. If you're not sleeping well, we can help you with that. There's no doubt that as a man thinketh in his heart, that's what he's going to be. And you can start thinking more positively. You can start putting your brain and your heart together and begin to at least not drag yourself down into the mully grubs and the moody blues, because that defects the immune system. You've got to perform a little bit of gentle exercise. You got to make the blood circulate faster. You got to make the lymphatic system drain more efficiently. And I promise you that when life brings challenges, and life is full of that, because we grow and we become stronger because of that. Learn to love life and laugh at life and to get on about life. So what are we going to do? We're going to watch our diet. We're going to get better rest. We're going to think better. We're going to love life. But here's what I'd like to suggest to everybody listening tonight. You got to learn to take the best of the best in nutraceuticals. And that just means that, hey, if we can power up your immune system, you by God's fearfully and wonderfully made body, have more power to be unleashed that'll just help you to get there. And the very first thing that has to be done first is realizing that your immune system holds the key to optimal health. Yes, we're talking total body health, because of any one portion of the total body is out of sync, then the whole body suffers, Go ahead and hit your thumb with a hammer and watch how your feet learn to dance real quick. The whole body's connected there. That's called homeostasis. And a good active immune system is going to determine whether you get the flu, how long your allergy symptoms will last, or even if you're going to succumb to the ravages of harsh diseases such as cancer. And your immune system, literally, it dictates how long your body will be healthy, how long your body can live, how long your body can resist death. The immune system is very important. It's a God-given necessity. So on the next to the last slide, the peak performing immune function. And whenever this immune system is flowing, I'm talking about in the right direction, this one immune system that's in your human body has the ability to knock out every known virus and bacteria and yeast and fungi and parasite and a whole host of toxins, including cancer. And what we have in the immune system are cells, trillions of cells that are specialized in guerrilla warfare. They just know how to go on. They take a 24-hour duty. They're very vigilant. They know how to destroy this virus, that bacteria, knock out this yeast, and hold back the tumor cells and decrease the amount of toxins in the body. And it's 24 hours a day, vigilantly mopping up and doing the work. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. Even with the best of medical technology, from CAT scans to PET scans to you name it, blood scans, we can draw things, look at them under the microscope. There are at least, I'm talking about at least 1 billion cells, such as cancer cells, that circulate throughout the human body, and they never can be detected. Now imagine leaving behind 1 billion dandelion seeds on your lawn after you thought you had got all those weeds pulled up. You see, those things can come back. And you got 20 trillion cells that are working 24 hours on duty, vigilantly destroyed and mopping up the enemy. So what happens? If you have a peak performing immune function, the truth is that immune system is the one that is responsible behind the scenes. It takes care of the invisible. It takes care of the things that the medical technology and equipment cannot even detect. So yes, it's good that you get a good, clear blood reading, a good, clear test with this particular apparatus. But even better yet, if you could eliminate all the cancer cells, all the toxins, then in the cell 20 trillion cell activity. This is what the new science, new medical science, having to turn away from antibiotics, is realizing the answer was always in cell-mediated immunity. It's our first line of defense. And if you feed the cell, if you get a cell-mediated immunity, you're up. And on the last slide, here's how to do it. We call it the power of the colors. OPC, that's your blue-purple. Aloe red, that's the power of the red. Is greens is the power of green. And is life is the power of yellow. And when you put 1, 2, 3, 4, you put all 4 of those into your immune system function every single day. Now you have a perfect 24-hour vigilant. And the antigens are going to be controlled. The antibodies that are in your favor are going to be enhanced. The good gene structure is turned on, and the bad gene structure is turned off. So yeah, there's bacteria with a gene that can produce enzymes that immobilize antibiotics. That KPC, they call that enzyme a KPC, or even that MRSA, that methicillin-resistant Staph aureus dude that comes in and causes chaos. And yeah, we thought that we had drugs of the last resort, but we don't. But if we build up our antibodies, then we have more than any antibiotic can offer. So our B cells become fortified, but they not only become stronger, they circulate in and out for 24 hours. And the cytokine, those good boys, the ones that we need, more natural killer cells, more interleukin-2, more GANT interferon, more good stuff, those are communicators. They speak clearly. They speak the language. They tell the body. Isn't it neat how we are articulating with a tongue in an English language tonight, and yet cell mediation means your cytokines are down there talking, one to another, electrochemically talking, communicating. Only God can do that. And the T cells, they come along and they shout louder. They're able to inform that, hey, we got a fight down here in the foot. We got a problem over here in the lungs. And now the stronger the T cells, the more power the fight. The thymus gland, the master control center, the computer system of the immune system, it helps to help all the other parts to get stronger, but particularly the T cells. And then now we can lean back, and the spleen, you know, that little part in the front of the human anatomy there, the spleen begins to interact. It begins to work cohesively with the T cells and the B cells. And now the lymph nodes, those under the arm and under the neck and all throughout the whole region of the human body, they start filtering the fluids and removing the antigens. That helps the bone marrow to produce healthier B cells and stronger T cells, and then comes the macrophages. Macrophages are the circulators. They know how to go over there like a little Pac-Man and engulf and digest and eat up the antigens. On and on and on. But Jack, here's the neatest part about it all. When you mix OPC, Aloe Red, Is Green, and Is Life together, putting the combination of the blue, the red, the green, and the yellow together, they complement, they synergize, they bring together. And now albumin. Albumin is a protein, but albumin works just like your liver. Now think about this. Now we put out little bitty tiny droplets, little albumin proteins that circulate all throughout the human body. It's like, yes, you got your major organ, your liver, filtering for you in and out, but now we send out millions of little livers. It's like a physical, active liver in the blood system, and it's now like, you know how you get gunk in your swimming pool, so you go out there and you get your net or your screen and you scoop up the junk and you get rid of it. That's what albumin is. Albumin is like the little screen that scoots down the swimming pool and gets rid of all the gunk. It's like having a liver in the brain and a liver in the lung and a liver in the kidney and the liver all over. Only God can do that. And OPC, Aloe Red, Is Green, and Is Life are albumin-enhancing nutritions. OPC, Aloe Red, Is Green, and Is Life are antigen-controlling nutrition because they build up your antibodies, because they fortify your B cells, because they intensify your T cells, because they strengthen your thymus gland, because they make the lymph nodes filter more proficiently, and they help the bone marrow to produce healthier. Now the macrophages, the little Pac-Men, are actually able to do their work without getting all gummied up. This really is science of the modern technology. Our industry, nutraceutical nutrition, is doubling, knowledge-based doubling every 12 months. And our OPC, our Aloe Red, our Is Green, our Is Life is right there at cutting edge of 2010. We're ready for the next generation, and we will be ahead of the curve because we're studying even tonight for the tomorrow. But I'm proud that we've got a company that has the best of the best, and I know without a doubt that I'm not afraid of any superbug because Dr. Jolly takes all of these nutritions on a regular fortified basis.